All right, yes, we are talking about the race for the White House, and we could have a little bit of breaking news. Business Insider, and I got to tell you, not everybody is jumping on this, but at least they're reporting tonight that Hillary Clinton will announce her campaign this weekend. Shock? Absolutely not, but for the White House. Now, but my question is, Bill, on a weekend?
Yeah, it's a little unusual. I mean, I guess it's a soft launch if that's what they're going to do. I mean, we'll see if she does it, but I mean, to me, it says that she's not totally ready to do a big announcement. You just throw yourself in there, let the weekend blow by. There's other things going on. People are doing spring cleaning. It's an unusual way to do it if that's what she does.
This isn't a casino. You don't soft open a presidential
You don't soft open.
You know, I mean,
that's what it would be.
Look, a lot of people are home Sunday night. Sunday night's the biggest TV night of the year, so there'll be some aspect of that. Plus, then it becomes the lead story Monday morning.
But isn't something else, Andrew, that she wanted to do this
Tuesday.
later? Why is she pushing this up? It's because the emails, it's because of a bunch of other... definitely the timetable's been accelerated, even by internal people. They said end of April, beginning May. They're doing this now. It feels rushed.
I mean, it does. The numbers are starting to tilt a little bit. She's lost some of the momentum. The email thing hasn't gone over all that well, so I think she'd like to get the spotlight back. Certainly all the Republicans have had the spotlight. We had Rand Paul this week. Again, Rubio's going to announce on Tuesday. It's terrible. Like,
by the way,
Rubio's on Twitter like, I've got a big announcement on Tuesday. Come join me. Like, it's so obvious.
We're going to talk about Rand Paul in a second, guys, but look at this. It is way too early to take serious polls, but nonetheless, I was surprised by the numbers. 3 swing states, and in 2 of them, Colorado and Iowa, Paul, just that he's in the neighborhood to me is surprising. And look at Virginia, she's up by 4 points. I'm not putting credence in this, but I am saying it is interesting that before everyone dismisses Paul out of hand, the electorate seems willing to at least see who he is.
Those numbers are really bad for her because she's such a known entity.
Right.
And to be that low is really, it's got to be frightening for her people. Maybe that's why she's getting in earlier than she wanted to. And I think to end any questions that she's going to run. I mean, I think people inside know she will, but there's been some questions out there. But those numbers have got to be alarming to the Clinton people.
There's also what I call a Herman Cain effect. Last cycle, you know, Herman Cain made news for whatever reason, then his numbers would go up, and then all of a sudden they would come back down. You make news, and you're in the headlines for a little bit, and you get a bump in the polls. I mean, Ted Cruz got a bump in the polls after his announcement. Rand Paul got a bump in the polls. Rubio will get one next week. Come back in a month after the gloss is off.
I'll only say this about Rand Paul. People at least want to learn who this guy is. Critics are saying that he's had a mixed bag in terms of his launch. And take, for example, this exchange with Savannah Guthrie on the Today Show that happened in the last couple of days, and many people saying this is anything but presidential.
You once said Iran was not a threat. Now you say it is. You once proposed ending foreign aid to Israel. You now support it, at least for the time being. And you once offered to drastically cut. Once drastically wanted to cut defense spending, and now you want to increase it 16%. So I just wonder if you've mellowed out.
Yeah, why don't you let me explain instead of talking over me, okay? Before we go through a litany of things you say I've changed on, why don't you ask me a question? Have I changed my opinion on? That would be sort of a better way to approach an interview.
Okay.
No.
Is Iran still not a threat?
You've editorialized. No. Listen.
Didn't go over so good. And Mike Huckabee, who's got his own agenda, okay, but fellow Republican, former Arkansas governor, he took a shot at Paul saying that all's fair in love and war, and this is war, and this is the big leagues. The implication is that Paul's not ready for prime time. Huckabee also is one of a big group who could be running in these Republican primaries. So the question remains, Bill, is a big primary, a big food fight, good for the GOP? And you've got different, I mean, you've got the, let's say, the establishment from the Jeb Bushes of the world here. You've got the, certainly, the Cruzes of the world populating the far end of the party on the right wing of the spectrum. And then you got some interesting people like Rand Paul. I don't know where to put him in, but is this what the party wants, or didn't they want to get away with that, get away from that from 4 years ago, where they kind of spent all their ammo on each other in a circle of fine?
Yeah, I think it's okay to have it as long as you can stop it at some point, and that's what didn't happen last time. They couldn't stop it, and it's very difficult to stop internecine fights. Rand Paul's got to watch it, because there was a great headline this week: is Rand Paul presidential candidate or gadfly? And that's the real question that's out there: is he ready for prime time? This he can't do. But I think for the establishment Republicans, they want to see, is there anybody out there better than Jeb Bush? Like, show me what you got. And Scott Walker maybe in there. You know, you get if Carly Fiorina is interesting out of the business world,
0%,
a woman,
polling
a woman.
at 0%.
At 0, but still,
Yeah.
but people
A
want to
solid
watch.
0.
People want to see what else is out there. And I think, or coalesce behind a Jeb Bush or a Walker, but probably a Jeb Bush. I think that's what's going on, you know. But you do it at your own risk, because if you can't turn off the fight, then you end up with a mess.
You know, people said before that one of the best things that for Obama was that he got pushed by Hillary in a primary, right? And it toughened him up a little bit for the general. Is it good, whether it be for Hillary or whether it be for Bush, that they get tested and pushed hard in a primary, or sometimes is it just creates, everybody throws a kitchen sink that they've got so many negatives come to general they can't get past?
Sometimes it's a negative when you're pushed hard. I know the general thought is that, oh, a primary is a good thing, but when you're in a tough primary and you're battling to the end, one, you're spending more money than you want to spend, and that's a bad thing. Yeah. And two, you're basically being red meat for your opponent that's from the other party that's standing there waiting for you, and your own party members are doing the work of the opposite party.
You also end up with great schisms within the party. So what happens is every candidate collects opposition research packages on you. And at the end of a primary, it's always bitter, and they start shopping that stuff to reporters. Mm-hmm. You know, so you have 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 or 12 candidates that are all researching one another. And the ones that walk away bitter, they shop it out to reporters. It's not always a great thing.
Sorry, I was trying to little Rand Paul there. I agree with you guys in principle, but the two front runners, this is an unusual dynamic because the two front runners are basically coming off the shelf for a long time. Jeb Bush, it's been, what, 10 years since he was out of the governor's office in Florida? Hillary Clinton hasn't run a campaign for anything since 2008. So these are cases where you really do need testing.
Spotlight, Andrew, and she's been doing the
but how's she
hand fighting of politics.
How's she going to do when she actually gets on the stump? I mean, you saw her explanation of the email press conference at the UN. She was kind of terrible. And Jeb Bush hasn't really faced the music in that sort of competitive environment. It's like saying, you know what, the Yankees need some help this year. We're going to call out Derek Jeter and Bernie Williams. They're great names, they're great players, but they haven't swung a bat in anger in so long. You really expect they're going to get a base hit their first time up? Richard, you do need some time to get up to
Jeter
speed.
would do it.
The only thing I didn't understand in defense of Senator Rand Paul, presidential candidate, I don't understand why NBC didn't have a more seasoned political reporter doing that interview.
I thought she did fine. I thought the question, it was a fair one, that he's changed so many positions.
It was awful based on the host. I mean, I'm sorry. I don't mean to criticize.
I wouldn't be surprised if they went with a woman for a particular reason, because he has been known to sort of run over female reporters in interviews before.
Hey, you got us talking about it, didn't it? Hey, now, I'm sorry, I got to go to the tease. Now, before we say goodnight to Bill, this reminder, you can catch Bill, Richard Brodsky, we'll see if we can get him out of a shell, and our own Andrew Whitman every weekend on Fios One Newsbreakers. And this week, we're going to learn a lot more about Bill and Richard, why they got into politics, political idols, and more. Okay, guys, thank you. Now, on the other side of the break, one of my favorite teams, and Andrew would love to say they still haven't clinched the playoff spot, but still, the Islanders. They still haven't clinched the playoff spot. Thank you. Get ready to say goodbye to Long Island whenever the season ends this year, and they'll be moving to Brooklyn. We're going to tell you why this season is especially interesting.